Let's go ahead and start with Spider-Man: Far From Home because that's old news. But
We can spoil it now, which is great.
yeah, I'm gonna spoil the hell out of it. I finally saw it. I was just hanging out and had some free time, and I looked at my fiance. I was like, "You want to just go see Spider-Man?" We were just kind of settling in. She's like, "I guess, all right." I dragged her to it, and she enjoyed it. I think she didn't have a whole lot to say about it, but she seemed to enjoy it as a thing that happened.
You haven't told me much about her, but I'm sure she does not come into that baggage that you would have.
No,
I think she left her baggage at the door.
yeah, she tends to with everything. She's our third host on Four Color Film, and
Yes.
yeah, she tends to just be jazzed
Okay,
about everything.
she was there. She was my queen during Death Note of just being like, yeah, I don't know, but I'm having fun. And I'm like, yeah, that's me.
Yeah, that's pretty much her through and through. She doesn't go into anything with any expectations and just enjoys it for what it is, and I'm a little envious. Um,
Because tell me how you felt about Far From Home.
well, I'll put it this way. As it was happening, you probably could have watched my face the whole time, and then once it ended, like as the credits rolled, like she was kind of looking at me. She was like, "Yeah, that was good," and like I wasn't frowning. I didn't look angry. I probably looked like I enjoyed it. If you filmed me watching that movie, it probably would have looked like I was having a good time. But immediately I turned to her, I went, "I fucking hated it." It's
You
not.
know, I have a similar feeling too. I went with my stepbrother, and he was like, "Oh, you look like you didn't like mind it." I was like, "Oh no, I didn't like it at all." He was like, "What?" I was like, "I mean, I just stared at glossy CGI and cute Tom Holland for a while. I'm not angry at my life, but yeah, it's not good."
Yeah, no, it's not my Spider-Man. It through and through is not my Spider-Man. And like in Homecoming, I liked Michael Keaton's take on the Vulture. I
Hmm.
thought that was great. That was my favorite part of the movie. Probably the only part, like looking back, that I liked about that movie. And kind of the same with Jake Gyllenhaal's Mysterio here. Like, I
You
didn't
know,
think
to
much of
to
it.
to touch on Homecoming, I do have a question for you.
Hmm.
Do you appreciate Homecoming a tiny bit more now because if it's a way tighter movie? I walked out of this one going, "Oh wow, when they let loose on this, I way prefer a tighter script like Homecoming," and I didn't think I would compliment that movie retrospectively, but I was like, when we scale it back, it's not as bad.
I'd like to give you a good answer on that, but I literally have not watched Homecoming since
You burned
theaters.
that out of your brain. I love it.
I cannot tell you how well put together it was. I remember watching it and being like, "Well, that was a decently put together movie." I can understand why
Yeah.
some people like it, but I don't. Um, and this one, it is a bit of a mess. I liked. Yeah, I liked everything about the way they handled Mysterio. If you would have just put better Spider-Man stuff around that, I could have been into it. But the thing with Peter Parker with his friends, Peter Parker hero worshipping dead Tony Stark, Happy Hogan,
Dead
all that
Tony
shit.
Dead Tony Stark still being kind of a villain and
Ah,
still not being great at himself. Like when the whole Edith thing came in, I was like, "Oh no, even in death you haven't learned anything. Like we're still doing Iron Man 3 Age of Ultron mistakes." And I
yeah,
love it.
honestly, like that to me felt incredibly out of character for what Tony Stark became later. So
That feels like a note that was in there from Far From Home before he died in Endgame, and I think it was just left over.
yeah, because
Because it
it's
really it would have made sense, like you get like in a arc a couple movies ago, maybe even 5 movies ago. Like I've never liked Tony Stark, but they've slightly tried to redeem his character,
mhm.
and they've done better now. But this was so a regression, and I guess I can't get angry because he's not around for me to get angry. But God, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm. What's up with this plot? I agree
Also,
with you a little bit about the Mysterio thing, but yeah, his stuff is weird.
also, when did he have time to name that AI?
I not a fan of him, but he seems like he has a lot of time. Like he seems like farm Tony Stark in that couple years have had a lot of stuff to do.
I guess so. I guess if he was expecting just to die one day, but on the farm, why would he have it set up for Peter Parker? Who?
No, again, but the MCU's the most constructed, well thought out stories ever. No. these are the moments that I'm like, no, girl.
No, it isn't.
They go movie by movie and go, well, how can we fix things? Like the Jake Gyllenhaal reveal from Civil War here. What? When they flash back to Civil War, and I was like, but they didn't even set that up.
Yeah, but truthfully, I kind of like things like that because I'm the kind of person that when I read comic books, I'm like, yeah, just pull stuff out of your ass. If you want to kind of reference back to something, good, do it. But don't feel beholden to all these years and years of continuity. Because the worst thing about comic books, and I've always suspected that it was going to end up being the worst thing about the MCU having to be beholden to the continuity, is that whenever you're that beholden to continuity, you're not just beholden to all of the good shit. If you're trying to be strict, like, you have to take in all the bad shit as well. And like the first person to really do tight continuity was Stan Lee, and that worked because he was writing everything.
Mm-hmm.
So it made sense for that. But to do it like ongoing comic book, that's why Marvel and DC are largely unreadable. Like, a lot of people didn't like when DC did the New 52 shit, and I'll agree that they didn't do a great job with it, but the idea was solid to just be loose continuity.
And I agree with you because Rebirth and New 52 were the first times I felt easier to pick up comic books because DC's always been my thing. But I would read like a compendium of older stories or like The Killing Joke. I never was able to be like, ooh, let me start at issue 1 because where the hell do I start?
No.
So I agree with you. I do like the refresh of continuity they did. And I thought that was a good idea how they ended up later. I mean, the New 52 is how I found Animal Man and Swamp Thing, so I will never hate them for that.
Yeah, and those were two of the best runs in that. Like the Scott Snyder Swamp Thing was good, and then the Charles Soule after that was even better, and then that Jeff Lemire Animal Man I think is great. But yeah, it's just strict continuity is a problem with comic books. Not only does it keep people from picking them up, it just becomes shitty. Like, even me, like, when I read something on a regular basis, I'm just like, this has gotten convoluted and as shit, and I don't need like Fantastic Four referencing back to like that shitty Matt Fraction run. Like,
yeah, and I think MCU is finally getting to a point where there's also nerds who care about the continuity, I think, more than Feige does.
Yeah,
and that's going to be an issue that they start running into because they were pretty bulletproof for a while with that. I think they got a lot of passes, and I think now critically people are starting to like be more harsher to Marvel. Not to say that there's bias or anything, but I do think even now fans are going to go, well, in episode 85 of your film series, you did this, and what actually was and that's starting to happen, and I do think this was one of those moments in Far From Home where I was like, oh, we could start poking holes, and you're giving them the reason to.
Yeah.
That's why I was kind of upset when Mysterio ended up being this like Tony Stark add-on because it reminded me so much of Vulture's villain arc being based on a lot of Tony Stark stuff as well, and Spider-Man was just in passing for that. Kind of like Mysterio. I think if anyone, from Nick Fury to the Skrull Nick Fury is, Jesus Christ, we'll talk about that. To goddamn Captain Marvel would have got that headset. I still think Mysterio would have done the same thing. So that's kind of what my problem with the villains of these Spider-Man movies are. Is I joked about it last week was, now that you've seen it, what the hell is Tony Stark's ex-maid going to end up being Black Cat? Like, I don't know what we're doing with this, like keeping continuous connections to them, but who knows? Maybe we'll have Kraven in the next movie, but he's only really there for Black Panther. Yeah. That's what I feel like is going to happen.
Yeah, you really could have just taken. I mean, the Tony Stark stuff added nothing to that Mysterio character. You really could have just taken, because he was a Hollywood special effects guy originally. You can dial that back and change it to something more interesting, more technological based, I guess, that makes more sense in this context if you want. But it didn't need the Tony Stark connection at all.
Them so desperately trying to do some kind of, ooh, it's connected to the other MCU, because I would have preferred him being like, nah, I just don't like Spider-Man. I think he's kind of a tool. Like, I miss that kind of villain stuff now, especially the MCU. Is there's so much familial drama. There's so much like, I'm here to take down this one person. I'm like, can we just have a villain who's like, I don't like him. He's a punk.
Yeah.
And I would have preferred that, because that's even kind of a Mysterio arc. I don't even know his OG origin for hating him, but that would have been believable to me. Like, I'm kind of jealous or something like that. I would have loved, but yeah, that was here. But again, I don't hate Jake Gyllenhaal here. When he told that woman to like keep steaming his coat because at any time he could meet the queen, relatable. That's when I started liking his character. There was a little bit in the middle where I was like, I don't know what Jake Gyllenhaal's doing here, but then full mustache twirly villain at the end, I was like, ooh, you're giving me Nightcrawler Gyllenhaal, and I like it.
Honestly, I liked him the second like the hologram started fading away in that bar, and then just the way he held himself and the way he looked, and then you can kind of see it in his face where he goes from being like faking being a hero to obviously being a villain. And I thought that was fun. Like, take away the Tony Stark related origin. Even if you kept that in, that's not awful. Whatever. If that was your way to tie it back into the rest of the MCU, sure, fun, whatever. That's not the worst part of it. It's that even with him dead, Peter Parker is still trying to live up to Iron Man, and that's just shitty.
Yeah, they really tried to do the Uncle Ben route here, and it was even more. I knew it was happening in Homecoming when we breezed through Uncle Ben's like, oh well, yeah, Uncle Ben, that happened. I was like, oh, he's pretty light on that. Okay, yeah, he's probably grieved it. Sure. Oh no, we're gonna have to see it, and I knew this was coming, and it annoyed me. But do you like anything of the movie? Because like personally, I didn't hate the teen romance stuff with him and MJ because Zendaya is me. Like when she's on the bridge talking about dead bodies, I was like, "Oh, me on her first date." I relate to this so much.
That was fun. She's a good actress. She creates a good character with that.
She's a good foil for him as well. I think. Yeah. Like when she was like, "No, you're Spider-Man." I thought that was such a only her character could have that moment. Mm-hmm. Of like, no, I'm not dumb. Like I'm aware of things. I like that. I thought that was good for her character, and I like that it's not. I'm not glad she's not calling him Tiger or anything.
Yeah, see, that's okay. Honestly, that by the time that happened, it had already bugged me so much because everyone knows. Everyone fucking knows who he is.
And then we do the end credit scenes, and everyone knows.
Everyone knows. Oh God. Let's talk about that real quick because that's.
Oh, they both. Oh, I had the weirdest end credit feelings because both of them started, and I went, "Oh shit!" Mm-hmm. And then they kept going, and I went. Oh. I mean, because we'll talk about the Skrull one next, but that one I called weeks before. I knew that was happening, but the way they executed it, I did not expect comedy. So yeah.
Yeah. The J. Jonah Jameson one where they bring back J.K. Simmons.
Alex Jones.
Yeah. When I heard they were bringing J.K. Simmons back as J. Jonah Jameson, I was like, yeah, obviously, like nobody else. He is that character.
Yeah,
and then
he's kind of like that Alfred that stayed in the continuity of all the Tim Burton and Joel Schumacher. Alfred stayed for some reason, and I like that. Like,
technically, those are sequels. I mean, loosely.
Yes, that's true. I guess, but yeah, I just like how like some movies are like, nah, they're too good for this role. They are stuck.
What it's really like is Dame Judi Dench staying on from
James Bond.
Yeah, when they full on rebooted that.
Yeah, you're like, but can we get another one because it's Dame Judi Dench? Like,
well, we got Ralph Fiennes now.
He's great too.
He is. But yeah, no, I hated it. J. Jonah Jameson as an Alex Jones type character is. I feel like a fundamental misunderstanding of the J. Jonah Jameson character, which, I'm already, not my Spider-Man about this Spider-Man, so I don't know if I need to get all not my J. Jonah Jameson. But
I think it's heavily inspired by the PlayStation 4 game because he's kind of like that character he's like a podcast on that.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think they went that route, and I do think it kind of reminds me, and I know you're going to hate this comparison, when Snyder tried to like reinvent this like Lex Luthor as this like Mark Zuckerberg type, and I'm like, mm-hmm. Yeah, that fits more of a modern era mm-hmm. of what this villain or character would do. And I was like, cool, I like this modernization. I think J. Jonah evolving into this because like really, what is it going to be, a New York Post writer like doing shitty headlines? I don't think like that kind of journalism really works anymore. Those like Spider-Man bold on the headline. He kind of needed to move to the internet. The full Alex Jones route is weird, but also I don't know. I've always felt like J. Jonah would be saying Spider-Man's making everyone gay. Like, that wasn't too far out of the realm of J. Jonah for me.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, because J. Jonah Jameson has his problems as a character, but he's also, like, not just a full-on villain, and I think making him an Alex Jones type is going against that. Like, you're never going to get any heart out of him in that kind of a role. So
Yeah, there's something I do hope that they can maybe stretch, that he is just purely like scared.
yeah,
And they could do a good arc and maybe give an arc that Alex Jones, the real person, needed.
yeah.
Of like, look, he's just this crazy, but yeah, I think they could do it with him. But also, I'm scared that that's just going to be a cute little end credit thing, and that's not going to be a thing.
Yeah, honestly, it shouldn't be a thing because the point of J. Jonah Jameson is to play that role where Peter Parker is selling him photos of Spider-Man, and he hates Spider-Man, but he's still employing Peter Parker, and he can't now since, one, he doesn't do anything with pictures, and two,
yeah, I was going to say, this Peter was never a journalist. Again, I think they're pure Stark Industrying this, and he's going to end up that whole scene with Happy watching him reenact Tony, and was this, oh my God.
I hated that.
Gag. Again, Tom Holland, his little face, he does so well selling this like boyish charm and that like newness to things and the sadness. I think he's such a good actor, and I like the moment when Mysterio just whooped his ass and let him get hit by a train. That's stuff that I was like, yeah, and I think his way of going, oh shit, I got my ass whooped, I thought that was good. Then we go to stupid jokes of like him getting caught with his pants down. Oh God.
Yeah. Jesus.
Though the idea of that guy getting blipped, which can't believe we changed the name to blipping, it was like the Reekoning or something. They had a different name. It's now the blip. But that one kid aging up, I thought was kind of funny. I was like, that's good ways of doing that without having to like. I kind of want to see a weird Disney streaming show of like maybe The Leftovers, but the MCU of like all the weird stuff that happened during the snap. I think that would be so interesting.
That could be fun. Everybody, has the same comment about Tom Holland being, having such boyish looks and all this and being precious. There was a point in this movie where there was a few angles on him where I was just like, that kid looks like fucking Matt Dillon, and I'm not going to be able to unsee this.
He gives me a little Matt Dillon. He gives me a little baby Leonardo DiCaprio, like before Leonardo blew up into Jack Nicholson. What happened there? He was like twink of the century in like Titanic, and then became this. Like, I'm scared that
he came in contact with Jack Nicholson in The Departed, and it just rubbed off on him. He got that disease.
Strength. Yeah, I think he absorbed him slightly there too. Like, and like, this is mine, Shang Tsunning this. But now, good Mortal Kombat reference, which by the way, we'll talk about later. Mortal Kombat news might be a good movie. Can't wait. But yeah, let's talk about the Skrull one, because how do you feel? Because that pissed me off.
I didn't like it. It didn't piss me off. I was just like, what? I didn't understand what the fuck was happening. What was, where was Fury? Like,
he was, I guess, because people on the internet have yelled at me because I didn't Google, Marvel lore. That's supposed to be Sword.
Oh, okay. No, that makes sense. Sort of.
So, but I looked it up and I was like, okay, where were the Skrulls and Sword? But sure, okay, you guys are going to yell at me, but none of it was in context to what it even would have been for me to search it. But yeah, I think that's what they're doing. So I expected the Skrull reveal, like I said, months and months ago, because Nick Fury was acting out of character-ish. It felt weird. The do not speak of her name, Captain Marvel line, all that felt weird. So I was just like, what's up with Fury? What's up with Fury? So the end, look, if any other brand would have turned a massive comic book moment like that first Elektra Skrull reveal into a joke, they would be beheaded. They would be never allowed to make another movie again. So that's what pissed me off here was the Skrull reveal. And I'm like, we made it into a joke. We made, to me, what is one of the scariest moments of Marvel, of like, oh shit, people we love are Skrulls.
Yeah.
Now the first one's a joke. Yeah, they can still do that. Sure, it'll happen later on. Black Widow gets shot and she's a Skrull. Who knows? Whatever. But now I'm like, the first one in our heads is a joke that's so old school MCU, and it kind of pissed me off.
You're right, because now they have undercut doing a secret invasion plot.
Well, and they could still eventually look, because everyone's like, well, not all Skrulls could be good. There'll probably be some bad ones, and I'm fine with that. I get that. But it's just the idea that this iconic moment, my theater gasped when it happened, and then they all laughed, and I'm like, that's the first Skrull reveal we have is a joke. And again, not that I think we all need to, I'm not a source material person. That's why I like Zack Snyder movies. I don't particularly need source material, but that's just a weighty moment, a iconic, to me, like I said, a scary moment that now we just undercut with a joke that I'm like, so when that happens for real in a movie, we're kind of already desensitized to it.
You've already
as
kind of
opposed
fucked it
to
up.
If that would have happened at like the end of Endgame with Hawkeye or something,
Yeah.
oh my God, we would have been shook. And now here, and I'm like, cool. That's where I think it was more upset. Was like, yeah, I'm right. Oh, it's a joke.
Yeah.
He's on vacation. Though I do think when that hologram stuff, I thought he was actually Mysterio, and I was like, a twist on top of a twist. Oh, and the movie wasn't that interesting.
Yeah, the thing is, they could have done the same bit with that not being Fury. They could have just done like a life model decoy kind of thing. That would have worked, as opposed to like ruining that scroll reveal. Whatever.
I also same thing with the first one. I would have preferred the end of Jay Jonah getting that video of Jake Gyllenhaal's character of, Quentin Beck going, he's a killer, all that, and then it turns around and the person who delivered that was Mysterio in an illusion. I would have liked that as the end credit scene more than just pausing the end of the movie and then restarting it 2 seconds later at the end credits. I hated that too. I was like, why wasn't that just the end of the movie? It first would have mirrored Aunt May finding out at the beginning of the first one. And it felt like a weird, disjointed thing, and it was half there for the shock, half there for a somewhat plot reveal, which people in my press screening got up and was already left. So, boy, they missed that. They're going to be very confused for 3.
Yeah.
Is he going to be fugitive to the law now?
I mean, I guess so. I mean, the only way, unless they just start off the third one with like some way of disproving him as Spider-Man or whatever, which I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. I don't see how this is a good thing at all.
My prediction then is he's a fugitive of the law. We get Kraven out there, and Kraven's going to hunt him for the next game because it's money. It's like Jaws. We just need him like Richard Shawing it, talking about, a spider once bit me. I want a full-on like Kraven Batman, man.
Yeah, sure. I'm okay with that, I guess. I mean, I can say now, officially, that I have zero interest in the sequel to this.
Yeah,
None.
I will be there to see Zendaya hopefully get her movie makeover and check out once that happens.
Because I just, I didn't like Homecoming, but I was like, it's not a bad place to start. They can still go somewhere interesting with this. And we're on number 2 of 3, because this is supposed to be a trilogy. They might do more, but it's supposed to be a trilogy. And
you're not there.
It's not. It hasn't. Nothing. Everything I disliked about Homecoming carried right the fuck over into this one. So
probably magnified a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
I feel bad, but yeah, hopefully he gets out of this franchise and can prove that he's more than just Precious Angel Tom Holland, and I want to see him act soon and drama, and I want that from him soon because I think he has a good future at least.
Yeah, he's a good actor. I like it. Honestly, I like this whole cast.
Yeah, Ned's actor.
Yeah, whatever. He's
Flash
fine.
Thompson guy. I see him on Screen Junkie sometimes. The Flash Thompson guy, and I find him funnier outside of stuff than in the movies. But his 2-second redemption arc. Oh, Mother's not here. Shut up, Flash. I don't care.
Yeah, it's fuck off. Yeah, it's there's nothing wrong with much of the casting. It's just bad writing and just uninteresting things to do with these characters. I don't know. Whatever. I didn't think that. I really did not think that going into an MCU Spider-Man that I would look back fondly on the Andrew Garfield days.
I said that to somebody and they thought I was crazy, and I'm like, I'm not saying Electro was a fun villain, but I miss him.
Yeah.
I miss Garfield. Even Emma Stone knew what movie she was in. She was so cute. I don't care that he was awkward and couldn't get words out. That was Peter to me.
Honestly,
yeah.
On a technical, filmmaking level, The Amazing Spider-Man 2 is probably a huge piece of shit, but I had a good time with it the whole time. So, and I haven't with these. It never got on my nerves. I was just there was points where I was like, ooh, that looks bad. Ooh, this is kind of a mess. But I was never fuck off, which I feel like happens on a regular basis with these MCU Spider-Man movies. And